Yesterday I shared a story from 2 Kings chapter 5 of the prophet Elisha healing a Syrian general named Naaman who had leprosy. In that story, the prophet tells the general just to go wash in the river Jordan and he'll be made clean. And the general is resistant because he expected more. He wanted Elijah to put on a big show and make a big fuss before he healed him. And one of his assistants told him, if the prophet had told you to do something hard, you would have done it. How much more so when all he's saying is go down to the river and bathe. In the same way, now in the Gospels, Jesus heals lepers, although not in the Gospel of John, only in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And I want you to look at a story in Luke chapter 17, verses 11 to 19. Now this is part of Luke's Gospel where Jesus is journeying on his way to Jerusalem. He's passing through the region between Samaria and Galilee. And our verses for the day are verses 12 and 13. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him, keeping their distance because they were unclean. They called out saying, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. Notice how they refer to Jesus. They call him Master. They recognize that he is their superior. And also they keep their respectful distance. They don't want to make him unclean. And what does Jesus do? When he saw them, he said to them, go and show yourselves to the priests. Just like with Elisha and the Syrian general. He doesn't tell them to do anything difficult. He just tells them to do what the law requires of someone who had leprosy and who is now clean. You need to go to the priests and show yourselves. You literally needed to show your skin to show that you were no longer infected with this disease. And again, the purpose of this is it makes wise public health sense. Leprosy was something that they didn't understand, so they wanted to isolate it so it couldn't spread to other people. As they went, they were made clean. It's in the act of responding to Jesus' word in faith that they are cleansed and healed. They are doing what the mother of Jesus had said in our first scripture of the week, the wedding at Cana and the turning of the water into wine. Do whatever he tells you to do. That's what they've done. And of the 10 who were healed, one turns back to give thanks to God, and that one is a Samaritan. And Luke tells us that both as a way of reminding us not to be too smug or self-righteous. Remember, Jesus' first followers were Jewish as he was, and they looked down upon Samaritans. And yet, once again in Luke's Gospel, just like in the parable of the Good Samaritan, a Samaritan's response to a situation is the one being raised up. This is another example of Jesus enlarging the circle of God's love and God's family, and it's something important for us to remember. And don't look too harshly on the 9 people who didn't return to give thanks. Can you imagine if you hadn't been able to hug your child or your spouse, if you hadn't been able to see your family for who knows how long? You probably, many of us, would have been running back to see them, praising God on the way.